got this. You're a host.
Hi, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to... Oh my gosh.
Do you not remember the name of the show?
Wait, don't tell me. Welcome to Honesty Hour, guys.
You did it. Good job.
I'm JSA,
Good job.
a host on this channel weekly on Off the Trails, which is actually coming up tomorrow with Sally Jordan and I.
That wasn't bad.
Thank you.
You're getting better. You're getting like that, like flow down and stuff like that.
Yay! Thank you, Zach. I appreciate
I
it.
take back everything I just said.
Wait, can I do the hyper RPG thing without even looking? Hey guys, welcome to Hyper RPG, a hyperactive, interactive, community-driven Twitch channel built by you guys. Yay! Thank you. How was that?
It was decent.
I'll take decent.
It's if anything, it's adorable. Honestly.
Oh,
it's
thank
just
you.
adorable. What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's Wednesday night, so it's time for Honesty Hour, and we thought we'd invite our friend Jim Stewart out to the show tonight. So, Jim, I was telling you a little bit before the show about how this works. We ask questions. Chat room asks questions. Sometimes those chat rooms get really these questions from the chat room get really deep. Other times they don't. But the stipulation that I gave you tonight is if you talk about Oregon Trail, 10 push-ups.
10 push-ups if I talk about the game that shall not be named.
Correct. He's catching on. This is great.
I've read Harry Potter. I know how they address Voldemort. I'm doing it the same with that game.
Good.
That I'm not going to talk about.
But that game that shall not be named, you've played it every day for a very long time.
146 days now. In a row.
Do you ever expect to log in and learn something new?
I always learn something new. The simulation, every simulation I do, something new comes up. About patience, or trust, or responsibility to your crew members in the covered thing that I'm talking about. It's a thing that's covered.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. Jim Stewart Allen, you happened to go to college with Dan, right?
I did, yeah.
Domestic
Washington.
Dan. Western Washington. Where is that?
That's in Bellingham, Washington.
Bellingham. So that's north, right? That's like an hour and a half something north or something like
Yeah,
that?
it's I-5 north, probably exit 252. That's actually exactly. If you guys go I-5 north and take exit 252, that's the right one.
You know, I did hear you reference to something earlier tonight that they are only 30 exits apart. Do you gauge distance in the world by exit numbers?
I think so. So I was talking about Everett as compared to Kent, which are also both on I-5 north. So I guess I do an exit thing instead of like a distance thing. I go, you're at exit 132. Yay.
What exit are we here?
This is, let's see. Oh my gosh. So you have to take a few highways. You do I-5 north up until you get to exit 154, I believe.
Which is 520?
Which is, that's 420. Oh, let's see if I remember this. It's the one that goes into Bellevue. Mm-hmm. And then 405, thank you. Okay, so you take 405 and then you get off at the Redmond exit. The Redmond-Seattle toll bridge exit, but you don't go on the Redmond, you go on the toll bridge one.
What's the exit number for that?
14. It's exit 14. And then I can't remember the exit for the last one, but it's 148th Street.
That is correct. This wasn't supposed to be a test, but I guess it is.
I passed it. Yay.
Great. So we're going to have conversations like that all night tonight. Somebody else recommended that PGT Beauregard equals sit-ups.
Okay,
we're gonna get you swole by the end of the night.
Love it.
It's super swole. So you went to college with Domestic Dan. What'd you go to college for?
I studied history. Not surprisingly, but I had
Did you graduate?
I did graduate.
What'd you do after that?
What
historians do?
It took me...
What did you do, comedy?
It took me actually about 3 years after to graduate because I was missing a math class. I needed a math GUR that I just never tested into or took. So I had to take an internet class after I left Western for those extra math credits. Then, after I finished the math class, I sent in my degree evaluation, and they sent it back to me, and I was missing 4 upper division elective credits. I had 180 credits. I had enough to graduate, but 4 of them were in a lower division class and not an upper division class.
Is this the same school that locked your Twitter account?
Yes.
What dicks?
I've gone through a lot with these guys.
Should have known then that they were going to screw you 5 years later with your Twitter account.
Everyone's trying to get me to talk about this game that shall not be named right now.
Yeah. No, let's keep having a conversation. We're good.
Or the general that shall not be named. Unless I want to do sit-ups, then I guess I can name them.
Depends on I guess whoever you're courting and what they want out of you.
There you go.
Yeah. So, after you got out of college, did you do like the history circuit for a while? Was there like a history circuit that you hit up?
That's a good question. So,
other universities and libraries, and I don't know how history works.
Yeah. So I actually became a naturalist out at Camp Seymour. And so
what is that? What is it? It sounds to me like you're one little twist away from being a nudist. Like, what's a naturalist?
So, schools. Maybe your school did this, but a lot of schools do like a 5th grade camp, right?
Yeah.
Where they get all the 5th graders in a few buses. They go up for like 2-3 days, stay at camp, and while they're there, they learn about science. So they do like a squid dissection class, a nature hike. And so my job was just to facilitate those things.
When you say facilitate, so you were giving kids lessons on nature and hikes and stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah. So
did you wear a uniform?
I did. My uniform was like this.
God damn it. I wanted you to have like a little hat, like a Mountie, like the whole like get up.
Right. That would be so
like conservation
cool.
agents,
That would be so cool. We did have a squid hat that I wore, but the funny thing about being a naturalist was like everyone on this crew was so outdoorsy, and then everyone had these nice coats and stuff, because it's Washington and you're working outdoors in like November a lot of the time, and like my apparel is just that, like I just drape 90 sweatshirts over the top of each other until I'm warm. So like I'll just have a Houston Oilers shirt, like my sweatshirt from swim team, and then this, and then just go out.
And you just keep those 3 like on a coat hanger outside your front?
Pretty much is what I did.
Who are we kidding? There's a recliner that you just put them on top of.
That would be so cool.
Wait, no, okay, wait, where do you put your 3 sweaters then?
Oh gosh, so they would get wet every day, and I'd put them in the dryer. So I'd have to come in, put them all in the dryer just to dry them off.
So that's your coat rack. You go in, dry them, pick them out.
Dryer, I guess, was my coat rack.
That makes more sense. That makes more sense. Hey!
Money.
I ate pho today. Also time for 3 more bologna sandwich. Maybe 2 more after that.
Ooh.
Question for you.
Yeah.
How would you handle this situation? Let's say, number 1, have you ever been in the situation where you've eaten 5 bologna sandwiches?
Probably. Or like,
I'm talking to the wrong person. Never mind. I'm absolutely talking to the wrong person. Okay, let me rephrase that. If you had made a honey ham and bologna sandwich,
okay,
would you tell people you just ate 5 bologna sandwiches, or would you tell them you just ate 5 honey ham sandwiches?
I would say I ate 5 assorted lunch meat sandwiches.
Okay.
Was that the answer you wanted?
Well, I don't know what I want out of this. I honestly don't know what I want out of any of this.
This is great so far.
Okay, so you were a naturalist for a little bit. After being a naturalist, I guess the big question is, when did you decide you wanted to do comedy?
So I started comedy in high school. And so I've always done comedy, to various levels. Now, when I was a naturalist, it was obviously a lot harder for me to do comedy
because the fifth graders didn't get
it. See, I did a lot of jokes that only I got that a lot of naturalists are like, Jim,
really?
No.
You do jokes that nobody else gets, JSA?
A lot of naturalists would be like, Jim, no one got. I'm like, I don't care. This one's for me, man. I gotta stay sane right now. So I didn't do a lot of comedy then. I was actually pretty angry about it at the time, because I had dated someone before that who was kind of down on comedy. Like, she thought it was just trying to be famous, and that's all that mattered.
Go into history.
She, you know,
you're not being true to yourself, JSA. Go into history. Comedy's for those fame hunting losers, you know?
Kind of, right? And so
Hey, what's up, pit crew? We're getting rated, JSA. We're getting rated.
Hi, pit crew. Woohoo!
For the pit crew, for those people that might be tuning in that are unaware of what in the hell you just tuned into, this is Jim Stewart Allen. Jim Stewart Allen is an actual national treasure.
Thank you.
Everyone here says so, and I believe them. So JSA hosts a show on this channel, but he also happens to be a naturalist, historian, comedian. And that's what we're talking about tonight. So make sure to ask your questions, have a good time. This is Honesty Hour. You guys know how this works. You ask questions, you hang out. We're gonna get to know JSA better tonight. We're in the middle of finding out about this real terrible piece of work that didn't want him to do comedy and wanted him to follow his roots. So let's keep diving into that.
So, she worked at camp before. This is actually a pretty interesting story. She worked at camp before, and that's how we met. And so we dated for a while, and then she went to the Peace Corps for a year. She went to Ghana.
What a piece of work.
She
is fucking piece of work. You know, not wanting to do comedy and then trying to guilt you and belittle you by going off and joining the Peace Corps. What a piece of work.
Brutal. So she finished a year. She ended a year earlier than she should have, or than her scheduling was, and came back. Mm-hmm. Before she came back, I had gotten this naturalist job at Camp Seymour, which I knew about because I had worked at camp, and she was a naturalist before that. This is kind of a crazy story. Anyway, she came back a year early and then became a naturalist with me. So I had to live at the same, because you live at camp, right? You eat, you work there, you live there, you sleep there. I had to live with her for a year, and that was like probably the most I've ever learned over a course of a year in my life, is like doing that and just having
to be like dating someone who was in the Peace Corps, who obviously got kicked out of the Peace Corps and came to be a naturalist. So where you're dating someone living in a camp surrounded by fifth graders, unable to act on their primal urges. No, you were exes at that point.
Yeah, we were exes, but like working at camp.
So you learned how to be tactful and be a proper human being and handle yourself around just the female sex that you're not interested in. I'm confused on where you're trying to go with the story, JSA. What did you learn by that experience? Why was it so interesting?
I learned how to cope. Like, I just learned how to be sad and not be able to leave that sadness and having to better myself rather than leave the situation. So I didn't really, I didn't have a passion for science. I obviously liked history, but I think being a naturalist taught me not only how to cope with my sadness, but after I kind of sat down with myself and went, look, Jim, I gotta figure out how to be happy here.
Question. Did that conversation happen with yourself alone in the woods, sitting cross-legged, smoking weed under the stars? I'm just curious because This sounds like some real heavy soul-searching shit.
I would go out probably 4. No, I'm serious. And I didn't smoke because you can't smoke there, right? But I would go out, and there is a Facebook memory I saw a while ago that said.
It's obvious. Thank you for the follow.
So I would go out into the woods and hug trees and tell them how I felt. Yeah, it was super intense. Yeah, I would hug trees and be like, I'm really sad right now.
Jim, when I was a kid, I would go out into the forest and I would protect the trees from kids that would be sticking sticks into them and like fucking with the trees. And I was like, no, be nice to the trees. The trees are your friends. And
yes.
I was a weird hippie kid, but I feel like a kinship with you about this.
Good.
I'll host Honesty.
Good. I got, okay. Actually, one of my favorite films of all time is In the Mood for Love and 2046. Have you seen either one of those? In the Mood for Love or 2046?
No.
So in 2046, there's this whole side story go on about when you have a secret, you whisper it in this forest alone to a tree, and to get the secrets out without, hurting those around you. Thank you for that follow. Thank you, Delgo the Dwarf and Gnur. Again, we are interviewing JSA.
I forgot that I went out and told trees how I felt. Like,
now, see, honestly, if you had told me you were high when you did all those things, I feel like I'd be more understanding of the situation.
I was
but
totally
you were just
sober.
hanging out with 5th graders, and you're like, pardon me, I'm having an emotional breakdown right now, and I need to go find a tree.
No, I would go out at night for that, though. I would like.
Hey, look at you! Subscribe and go do the dance.
Woo!
Subscriber.
Woo!
Okay.
Yay.
Question, how old were you when all this was going down? Like 22, 23?
24. So.
24, okay, great. Great, right around that age where you should definitely be hugging trees.
Yep, and telling them your secrets, yeah.
Was it secrets or just crying?
It was crying, kind of. It wasn't, and as it went on, of course, my crying got less, but...
Because you were coping, that was your coping.
The trees were listening to me, Zach. No, I would just tell them like what was going on and what I needed to do. So then I watched, and this is what changed this is crazy. Bill Nye changed my life. Bill Nye, the science guy. And I didn't even really watch that show when I was a kid. But myself at 24 went, I need to figure out how to be happier. I need to figure out how to do this well. How can I figure that out? And I went, who's more passionate than Bill Nye about science? So I started watching Bill Nye, and I went, this is incredible.
This guy's got it all figured out.
This guy can just make science work. If he can do that with science...
You can be a comedian.
I can do that with history. I can be a comedian. No, I can do that with history, but right now, my focus is on science. So, I'm going to do the best possible job that I can at every class I get of kids. I am going to make as many of them scientists as I possibly can. I'm going to make as many of them, when they're in college thinking about their major, go... Oh, there was this one weird guy that
he was talking to trees, but fucking shit, I learned a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we can hope for as teachers. I used to teach too.
Oh, did you?
But not 5th graders in the woods.
What did you do? What did you teach?
I taught color theory at a college level.
Color theory.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, it's the theory of color.
I've seen the Bill Nye Science Guy light and color episode.
Some of it's like that, yeah, like spectrums and where things land on that spectrum.
Some of it's like Bill Nye,
Kelvin
Jim.
and temperatures and all that good stuff. Kelvin, But yeah, that's actually pretty admirable that you came out of that traumatic experience wanting to make kids better scientists.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. That's
Just
great.
cause.
Yeah.
Thank you for those bits. Nivius Miletus. Thank you for that. Really appreciate that.
I learned a lot from Bill Nye.
So moving past that, when did you decide that you were going to stop the naturalist thing, remove yourself from the historian circuit, that traveling circuit, and get into comedy? When did that happen?
That was kind of a slow realization, and that was after I had watched.
This is all under the assumption that people actually show up to your comedy shows. I haven't been to one. I don't know if I should be saying like Jim Stewart Allen the comedian or Jim Stewart Allen the historian.
Zach, I get butts and seats. Okay.
Okay. All right. Cool. The comedian then.
So I'd done stand-up about probably as a naturalist like once a month, but I was pretty down on it still. But slowly, after kind of seeing Bill Nye and becoming inspired by that, I realized comedy is really whatever I want it to be. It's not necessarily, and before I thought of it as like, I have to appease the most amount of people, get the most amount of laughs so that I can go on the road and do these shows and get this money. And I kind of realized over time with being a naturalist, comedy is really what you want it to be. And the game that I'm not gonna name is kind of part of that realization. Like, as a comedian, I can play video games, I can connect with people this way. And so I think Twitch is really cool because it's kind of like stand-up comedy in that you're performing, but you also have this personal connection with the crowd too.
Do you guys feel connected to JSA right now? I am curious.
I hope so. I feel connected to you guys.
I think you're actually pretty good at disarming people. That's probably why people enjoy watching you play the same goddamn game for 160 days. That sounds like a nightmare to me.
People always ask me, like, how do you play it that many days in a row? It's the chat. I mean, if the chat's working, you can play anything. It's pretty amazing.
So view the chat as like an audience in a stand-up kind of...
A little bit, but you get to, know them on a personal level. Like, there's so many people that watch my channel, and they're gonna come, they're gonna come visit, and I'm gonna hang out with them. It's like seeing a famous person. It's like, oh my gosh, it's you in real life. That's really cool.
So somebody mentioned that you actually streamed. Oh, hey,
Y'all got
bits.
some nice oxen there, Jim. It would be a shame if something happened to them. Hashtag Oxen Mafia.
Somebody mentioned in the chat that you actually streamed a comedy show to Twitch once.
Yeah.
Was that at a venue, or how'd you do that?
Yeah, I did it at a theater in Seattle, and I played the game that I play, that they mentioned up there, and I had an improv troupe. It actually worked really well, but I played the game for about 5 minutes, get the scene going. And then the improv troupe would come out and basically, me streaming the show was like me, I had the webcam here, and then when they came out, I just held it like that.
Sounds like
but
a
it
real
was
top-notch
cool.
production.
It was cool.
Yeah.
And 18 people watched. 8 people watched.
Up to 17, average 8. But it went really well.
That sounds exactly how Twitch goes. Yeah, 17, but mostly 8. Yeah. There's always people that ask, what kind of numbers do you get? I'm like, 17, but sometimes...
add it up throughout the 160 days? Yeah. I can get you that number.
Yes, please.
Okay, so you started doing comedy then on stage, around 25?
On stage, no, I started in high school.
You were on stage all the way back in high school.
Oh, yeah.
But back then you thought comedy was something different, and it wasn't until after being a naturalist that you realized you wanted to be more honest and
Yeah,
yourself?
that was, but it had always been going towards that way. And one of the reasons I quit and didn't like it so much was a reaction to what I thought it should be and how I was doing it. So really, I was going towards this goal the whole time. I just reacted to it in a different way because I thought it was something different.
Okay.
But the first joke, the first 2 jokes I ever wrote.
Oh, please share. Please share.
I had one, and this is actually interesting. Woohoo!
Please share.
So one of them was pretty simple, and a few comedians have done it, so I dropped the joke, but it was pretty well written joke. It was, what would you do if there was a 21st century bank robbery with a 18th century musket? And it's just like, this guy like, hands up! I'm gonna and he like does it all slow. So that was one of them.
Wait.
And so it was
I was waiting for the joke to end. Is there a punchline to the joke?
He just like loads the musket really
So you're
slowly.
just acting it out. That joke is more through the physical comedy of acting out the musket. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Then, and this is the more interesting one.
Thanks for that, host.
Because when I thought about it before, I was like, oh, just a regular joke. But this joke is how I do things now, and it was one of the first jokes I ever wrote. It's about bottled water, and this number that you got on the side, this 800 number you could call for questions or comments. And so the premise is, what kinds of questions for bottled water? And then I imitated someone calling, but the imitation, I actually got that fact from a biology class, and so I went, yeah, what's the pH level on this water? Yeah, 6.7, that's too acidic, or something. That was the joke, but I got that from a biology class in high school that I learned from. So, even in the very beginning, I was basing jokes off of what I was learning in school. Which I think is kind of interesting, which is what I do now. My set's pretty much all historical.
For those that don't know, that might be tuning in for the first time and haven't seen JSA on this channel, he is technically a historian. Your dad was on the channel last week, who's also an historian. And you guys have history moments, I'll call them.
Oh, yeah.
Where I've been here many times where you've called your dad on the phone and had a geek out conversation with him about something in history.
Yeah.
Again, I think part of the reason so many people here appreciate you and stuff like that is, for those that might be wondering, you're completely genuine in your excitement. It's not an act, and that's partly why I wanted you to come on today. Is I think sometimes when you tell people you're a comedian and you start on the history stuff, they think that it's part of an act, like a comedy act.
Yeah, no, it's just really exciting. It's just people need to know.
It's just really exciting. People need to know.
People have to know.
What's the one thing that I should know that I definitely don't?
About history?
Yeah.
Oh, man, there's so much.
Because I probably don't know any of it.
Okay, do you want to do Cold War? What do you want to talk about?
Just fill me in. What's something that I should be aware of as an American that I just am not?
Season 1 of Rocky and Bullwinkle outlines the ridiculousness of the space race. And so if back in the 50s you were like, oh, the space race is stressing me out, there's a whole season of Rocky and Bullwinkle where they, in fact, make this quick rising fudge cake. And I wrote about this in a paper. I got to watch season 1 of Rocky and Bullwinkle and take notes diligently and write this paper. But they make this quick rise fudge cake that's his Bullwinkle Moose's grandma's recipe. And this fudge is so quick in its rising that it jolts it to the moon. Right? And so now they figured out how to get on the moon. But then the recipe gets ripped in half, and then Boris and Natasha, the 2 Russian spies, go after it. So it's this hilarious, space race kind of thing that alleviates a lot of stress. And so I guess one of the things you should know is that during the Cold War, a lot of people like to think of America as like this country that was just blinded in fear over communism, right? Like, oh my gosh, we can't have this happen. When in actuality, that was going on, but we had these things like Rocky and Bullwinkle, and we had a lot of comedy outlets.
Well, I found typically that history, even when it comes to art and music, tends to remember things from a very skewed perspective. It doesn't necessarily capture the general public's appeal on things. It captures what's more exciting to remember.
Right.
It's like the top song in what was it, 1969 was the Ballad of the Green Berets, not a song, that was not Rolling Stones, not the Beatles.
Right,
things like that.
right.
We like to remember things a little differently than sometimes actually are. Whereas the general public, we remember everyone was against Vietnam, but in reality, there were a lot of people who were for
yeah.
it. So,
yeah, it's history, you write history based off of the sources you have. So, some people will read a grouping of sources and be like, that's what it's this way. But then another historian will be like, well, no, I found these sources. it's this way. And people go, well, he's wrong. And then some people go, well, they're wrong. And that's the beautiful part about history is their works have made you now discuss this whole thing, which is really cool.
So I might not know anything about history in a written form, but I took a lot of art history classes.
Nice.
That was kind of, I had to do a lot of that because I have a master's in painting, so I had to take lots and lots of art history classes.
Cool.
Which is a very different world. Woody Miles! Thank you for that follow. But also very similar in that it's all written by rich white people.
Yeah.
And their
a lot of it is, yeah.
Their perception of what took place. And art history always really fascinated me because you only have a history of what survived.
Yeah.
And what survived was the people who were rich enough to keep their things protected, to keep them up in galleries and churches. Usually that's why churches, because they were less likely to get burned and ransacked and lose all those things. And a lot of the patrons of said art were lost throughout history. And Eastern history is a lot more interesting because they had a different way of handling things. You know, like even when Genghis Khan was going through and conquering Asia, he didn't destroy their culture. Whereas like the Western way was to destroy culture as you destroyed.
That's interesting.
As you destroyed things.
And
so
my mom is actually
art,
an Asian history professor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and see, I don't know. That's really interesting you say that. I don't know as much as I should know about
one of my thesis papers was on Ming Dynasty, like art and stuff like that, but I don't remember a lot of it. Too many numbers.
Right.
I'm dyslexic, so I get all the numbers backwards. I could never do
the
like
dates.
Numbers and dates and things like that. I get them all backwards.
That's always interesting when people, because that's the worst part about history to a lot of people is like, the memorization and the dates. And it really, that's a really bad way of looking at it. If you're just going, I have to remember this date. No, you shouldn't be memorizing dates. The way that I know dates is that they're just so cool that they happened that I have to remember. I have to know that the Battle of Lexington and Concord happened on April 19th. I have to know that. I also have to know that George Foreman fought Evander Holyfield on that same date, but in 1991. It's just...
I remember that fight.
Yeah, the battle, you do?
I watched it. I watched that fight. I remember that one.
It was so good.
Yeah, it was intense.
Oh! George Foreman took so much.
It used to be like a community event in my hometown. We had one guy in the entire town that had satellite. So everybody pulled together to buy the pay-per-views and all go over to his house and we'd watch the fights.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, it was the fight was billed as the Battle of the Ages because Holyfield was 24 and Foreman was 41, I think, at the time. But the main thing I remember about this fight, and this has actually helped me a lot in life, I really like boxing, but George Foreman, when he went back to the corner, he wouldn't sit down. He stood up. So, Evander Holyfield...
Thank you, I Am Ripley. Woo-hoo. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
When Holyfield would sit down, he just stood up. And sometimes he would prop his leg up on the stool or whatever, but he was always standing up, and he was a 41-year-old guy.
He had to prove that he was like...
Yeah! And so, whenever I'm tired now, I will stand up like George Foreman and rest my arms on my hips like this, and this is my way of saying, like, I'm tired, but you know what? Let's get this done. If George Foreman at 41 could absorb Evander Holyfield's punishment, come on, I can do this.
I'm not George Foreman, so... All right, I'm going to start asking you questions from Discord. Okay?
Ooh,
so these are questions from the chat room
for sure.
you. Sometimes they're going to be for me, sometimes they're going to be for you. So now, if you are a subscriber, you can throw some questions into the Discord Honesty Hour room, and I will get to them if we have time. JSA, hi, from Prosperous Guard. You've played and hosted a lot of Hyper RPG shows. What would you say was your favorite time to be on Hyper RPG?
Wow. You know, that's, I think the first time.
What was the first time?
When I was on What the Fuck Is This with Aaron Kirby, and I came on and...
you played that game that shouldn't be named.
I played the game that shouldn't be named, and a bandit stole all 12 of the animal that I'm not going to name but we still scraped it together and made it. That was really cool. And I think before that, you guys were probably like, this guy's gonna play this game? Like, how is that gonna go?
I'm very curious on how your brain works, because that was like right around the time the channel launched JSA, and you've played that game 160 days in a row, but you remember what happened on that time of you playing the game?
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. It was insane, like all of the stuff that happened, and then we were able to beat it. It was one of the most memorable games of that I've ever played. So yeah, that would have to be my most memorable time. I'm trying to think of an off the trail moment too. If I can think of one, I'll bring it up later. But man, hosting with Sally is, I love it. Yeah. I love it.
Sally's great. She's a lot of fun.
She's wonderful.
Somebody did ask me yesterday, it looks like, what it was like for Malika and I streaming on Saturday, and that it seemed it went well. It did. It went really well, actually. Some of the best numbers we've had all week long was us streaming on Final Fantasy on Saturday. It was fun. It was a good time. Don't ever get to spend time with my girlfriend, so it was good. KF Joser wants to know, what made you decide to stick around and become a regular?
What? You guys have such a cool community. It's great, and this is for serious. I worked at camp for I think 9 years now. This is a lot like camp to me, in that I come in and everyone's goofy and everyone's themselves and everyone lets me be myself. That's the magic of camp, and that's why I've worked there for so long.
That's the magic of camp.
Yeah, it's this cool community where everyone lets you be yourself.
And honestly, I'm glad you said that, because that's something I've been trying to make sure people know. And it's hard to put in words sometimes. And I think sometimes it's natural for people to forget. But I think that's something that's really important to us, is that we're a collection of people who all just get to be ourselves and represent all the other different nerds out there. Mm-hmm. We're definitely all nerds.
Yeah.
But different.
And that's the other cool thing, is like, I come from just a very specific type. I play pretty much only one computer game. So to come here and now I've gotten to play some RPGs. I just didn't know this stuff existed. And I've done improv before, but this just completely exercises another muscle. And it's really cool. And just to have you guys here as well is great. That's why I stayed. I mean, the other reason I stayed is because you guys asked me back and I went, yeah, I'll come back.
Paladin Hulk says, JSA, you are a historian, but now I ask you this. What does the future hold for JSA?
What does the future hold? My end game has always been, since I kind of discovered Bill Nye and how much... I'm going to keep talking about him. The end game is that I write my own kids' history show.
Kids' history show. That's interesting, actually. That's really interesting. There haven't been many kids' history shows.
Yeah, and you know...
A lot more science, not much history.
Yeah, because science is, I think, a lot easier to be more interactive with, whereas history... A lot of history shows are, here's a time machine, we're gonna go back and fuck around with this part of history. Whoa! We're in the Revolutionary War. Whoa, crazy. What are we gonna do?
Hey, Captain Blue 32, thank you for that follow.
I think the challenge with history is to get kids to not just look at it as a story, but to start going, say what? Money.
JSA is a national treasure. I also agree with DSA. Hyper RPG is a great example of the American dream being realized.
I gotta quote him on that. I just gotta quote him.
My dad is
Firecrow, thank you for the host.
My dad is
kindly get rated. Guys, we get rated again. Woo! We rated again. Would you kindly rate by Firecrow? All right, so we got a whole nother group of people that we need to get telling you what's going on. Sorry, Nightbot's being a dick. Nightbot is a real dick. You know that, right? You've learned that by now.
I
right?
have.
You've learned Nightbot's a dick? Okay. Guys, this is Jim Stewart Allen. Jim Stewart Allen is a comedian and historian who happens to be a host on Hyper RPG, and we're getting to know him tonight, asking him questions, doing a little interview where you guys get to, hang out. Hey, chat room, stop it. You're good. You defended. Good job. Desilario1, thank you for the follow. So go back to your story.
I think it's important, obviously, that kids know that history is comprised of a lot of really cool stories of things that happened. But I think the important thing to also teach kids is that these stories aren't just facts. These aren't just things that we go, this happened and this happened and this happened and that's absolutely a fact. No, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of different communities that reacted to these events differently. So you gotta then, it's not only just a story, but you gotta then take these sources. Oh, sorry.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Just because I was thinking about it, because it's something that always amazed me.
I thought you
history.
were being like, shh.
No. I was thinking of a question because I'm curious to see what you think. What's your favorite, disputed historical thing? You know, because Roadrunner 71, thank you for that follow. One of my favorite things about art history was learning all the things that there was just like huge fucking argument over in the community. D-Bird guy 69, thank you for that follow. Like people that were at each other's throats arguing over how something was interpreted or why it was made and how it worked. You know, like the Venus figurines in art history are considered to be the most people just assume it's art by men because a lot of historians are very sexist and think that men made all the art back in the day and that they're like these 20,000-year-old sculptures or whatever. And then some historians are trying to prove that they were actually made by women because it's the way women see themselves. And it's a simple distinction that causes just insane argumentation and like people at each other's throats and papers arguing against each other. So like, what's your favorite history thing where like there's two very distinct groups that are arguing against each other about how it happened?
You know what's always fun is I like getting into it with people from the UK about
Pretty boy, thank you for that follow. And also Lightning Eyes 1, 2, 3 in 5 minutes. Go on.
When I like getting into it with people from the UK about who won the War of 1812. Okay. Because it's just either, I mean, it was a draw. The official result is it was a draw. But America won the last battle, the Battle of New Orleans, which is huge. But England burnt down the White House. So there's all this really it's a lot of shit talking about, well, we burned down the White House, well, we won that big battle. It's a lot of shit talking. And I think the fun part about history is the debating of it all. I haven't heard about the Venus figures. That's crazy. And is there a lot of pretty much the evidence is just what you look at, right?
Well, that's the thing is there's no evidence. It's you have to prove through research because there's not going to be like an eyewitness account from 20,000 years ago saying, yo, my girl made that. You know, like that doesn't exist. So it's more like the way it's formed, the way it's used. One of the art historians that is trying to prove that they were made by women is doing a really unique experiment where he's having other female artists look at themselves without a mirror and without pictures and draw the way they look from a very set point of angles. And the interesting thing is most of them come back in similar shapes as the Venus figurines. Because the way a woman's going to look at herself by looking over her shoulder and the way she draws herself, basically he was trying to prove that they were shapes that were from a woman's view of herself and not the male gaze. Because the male gaze would be a much more, let's say, focused point of view. Whereas these were much more looked like they were based on shapes from a POV.
That's interesting.
So it's really interesting. It's really interesting stuff. Yeah.
See, and that's like you gotta do studies like that to gather that evidence. That's a really good way. The War of 1812 is more we have the evidence out there.
Money. And I said, hey, I said, hey, I said, hey, what's going on? Remember that, Zach? I sure do. Good times, man, good times. Hashtag Evo.
Indeed, I do remember that. Thank you for that tip. Appreciate that. Moving on to another question from Discord here, guy.
There's so many
examples, Gamer,
though.
UK less than US. So I guess really you're just trying to stir shit up between like countries.
I guess so, and see it works. I mean, that's just such a fun debate to do. Is like we won the War of 1812. Well,
yeah, people are pretty attached to it now. I'm sure they argue about it constantly.
It's a hot button issue.
Especially now.
Money. Prepare for trouble and make it double. Zach and JSA rocking the stream. Surely this will be an amazing team. This dynamic duo will forever be famed, and avoid the game that shall not be named. Honesty. Hour, blasting us away with hyper rabbit power.
Thank you, Prosperous Guard.
Prosperous Guard makes a lot of Team Rocket type intros for me. It's pretty beautiful.
All right, another question from Krellin in the chat room. You know a lot of things, but do you know why kids love Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Is it because there's cinnamon swirls in every bite?
Moving on to the next question. What's your favorite random fact?
About history or about anything?
You seem like a person that would carry random facts in their pocket.
Let's see, a random fact. Okay. Fresno State won the 2005 MPC Computers Bowl against number 18th ranked Virginia. Do you know about bowl games? College bowl games?
Computer bowl, you said?
There was every year at the end of college football, there's 40 bowl games. Okay. And so there's the classics. There's the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the ones you.
What's the Computer Bowl?
This is a lower. So then there's the low tier ones. So then you get into the GoDaddy.com Bowl.
There's a GoDaddy Bowl.
There's a GoDaddy.
But what is the Computer Bowl?
So that
Who represents the computer? I almost understand more the GoDaddy Bowl.
So there was only 2 years where it was the MPC Computers Bowl. Then it got changed back to the Humanitarian Bowl. Now it's the famous Potato Bowl.
And this is football?
This is football. So
fucking stupid.
It's really weird. So last year I was going to Montana to visit my friend, and I downloaded the 2005 MPC Computers Bowl to watch on the plane. And I did.
Why?
One time
most people would be like, oh, there's that new show out that I've been wanting to check out. What part of you goes, I heard about this game, that aforementioned Down in History Computer Bowl, one of two. What made you decide that that's what you should download?
Because I'm here talking about it now.
You had the foresight. You had the foresight. You knew this would be good material. You're looking for things, you're like, that's weird as shit. That's great material. You wasted precious hours of your life.
2 hours watching Fresno State upset number 18. And this is the shitty part, is Virginia's ranked number 18. So they're going, let's go to an Outback Bowl maybe. The Outback Bowl is pretty prestigious. Let's go to maybe, the Alamo Bowl. No, they're going to the stupid MPC Computers Bowl, and they're not even going to win. And the worst part is it's in Boise, Idaho. That's the only bowl game that's in cold weather. Like every other bowl game's either indoors or in Florida or in the South. So it's pretty brutal. Or in California.
Well... Random fact, thanks for that question.
Do you want to know what else I've watched the 96 presidential debate, the whole thing.
Okay, see, that I understand a little bit more. That seems a little bit more like that would be fairly interesting.
Right.
From a historian standpoint especially. That's important information.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see where we've changed, where we haven't, and how we grow. And the MPC Computer Bowl, one of two in Boise, Idaho.
Arizona has a couple. The Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. Woo! The Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl. Woo!
The Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl?
Yeah, dude. They get really... The one year there was the Insight.com Bowl. What is Insight.com? We don't even know. It's not even a thing anymore. But one year, a website called Insight.com went, we need to do this. We should sponsor a bowl.
Yeah, it should
the
be,
Hyper RPG
it could be
Bowl.
The football is dumb, watch Hyper RPG Bowl.
The football is dumb, watch Hyper RPG Bowl. That's great.
JSA, why do you and Sally make such a good team?
Because she's goofy and weird, and there's nothing that she can say that I will be weirded out, but I just feel completely comfortable hosting with her. I'm just like, whatever happens is gonna happen, and we're gonna make it work. It's beautiful.
JSA, how do you keep wonder alive in your life?
How do I keep Wonder alive?
Besides wearing the same 3 sweaters.
I watch a lot of I watch a lot of things. I watch like the 2005 MPC Computers Bowl and finish it and go, wow, who'd have thunk that this happened? This is so cool. And so I get excited about that. I get excited about the people I'm hanging at. Just everything is a different story. And so I try to look at it like that and then get excitement from that.
Good answer.
And I also get excitement just from I love this channel because so many of the guests here have just such weird and cool things that they're into. And so listening to other people talk about what they're into is really exciting to me too.
I have a lot of really smart people here.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm gonna skip a whole bunch of questions that were stupid. Bazooka Joe 5 wants to know JSA, PGT Beauregard, or Teddy A. Roosevelt?
Oh my gosh. See, on Amazon Trail 3, you get to rescue Teddy Roosevelt. Have you ever played Amazon Trail?
No.
I can talk about that one.
Yeah, I did not give you that stipulation. And I knew you were going to answer Roosevelt because you weren't allowed to answer PGT.
Oh, that's true, too. Yeah, I'll just go Roosevelt right now. So, on Amazon Trail 3, which is basically a canoe ride through the Amazon River, exploring the history of that river. You go backwards and forwards in time, which is kind of weird. You go through blue mist, but you get to meet, these real people that interacted on the Amazon. And so one of the people is Teddy Roosevelt, who at one point in his life got lost in the Amazon. And so you have to rescue him. So you have to find him. You get there and you find out he has parasites. Now, here's the thing. Before this...
You gotta save Teddy Roosevelt.
You gotta save
Or
Teddy.
the future is in peril.
Pretty much, right?
Your entire life could change as you know it if you don't save him.
He's actually already been the president, so it's not too important.
So he's an ex-president at that point.
Yeah, so you're like,
okay, whatever.
You've already done what you needed to do.
Yeah.
But a medicine man gives you this medicine from the rainforest that will help with what he has. I think it's a different disease each time. But you can also opt to give him a med kit instead. If you give him a med kit, he'll say, I was hoping for a medicinal plant from the rainforest, but I guess this'll do. And you go, fuck you, Teddy Roosevelt. Beggars can't be choosers, Teddy.
Paximo wants to know who or what gave you your love of history.
That was I can't speak about the game, but it was a lot of that game.
That made you love history. The game. Not your dad being historian.
That too.
So your dad, I was just hoping you'd leave this up being like, it was this one video game. I mean, yeah, my dad was a historian when I was growing up, and I call him on the phone to ask him history questions, but honestly, he had no effect on my life whatsoever at all. But the video game, though.
So that game, and my dad and my mom being history professors, but I really, the way I discovered how to interact with history and how history can be really cool, and you can analyze it in a lot of different ways, is through playing Oregon Trail. Dang it. Oh my god, I was so close. How many push-ups?
10.
Oh man, I was right there. We got 48 minutes in.
4, 5, 6, 7.
This is
8.
This is harder than it should be.
9, 10. You're good.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
You also realize this is honesty. This isn't like a show where I can actually tell you what you have to do, but cool.
I'm gonna do 10. I'm
Okay,
a man
cool,
of
great.
my word.
All right, I don't.
Oh, got him.
Cool, great.
That's how I learned how to.
If only other hosts were as attentive as you are.
That game got me to interact with. What just happened? I said the game that should not be named. That got me to interact with history in a whole different way. Now, this is also interesting. My grandma, because I would have a grandma day every week.
Well, your mom's also a historian too. Like your mom and dad are both historians.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like when I was being born and when I was growing up, I was in 2 different states because they were kind of looking for a permanent professor job. It's really hard to be a professor. So, yeah, they're both historians. And this is really interesting, but every Thursday in elementary, middle, and high school, I had a grandma day. It was called Grandma Day, and I'd go over to my grandma's.
I remember Grandparents' Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was every week I had it. So I would hang out with my grandma for about 4 hours. Most of the time I would play
You were close. I'll let it slide. You were close.
I played that game, and she would watch, and we would talk about it together. And so that's really where I went, this is cool. This is something that you can discuss, and this is something that you can interact with. And so, and I think my dad talked about it last week, but I went to his class where he was teaching about that subject, and just the whole time was just spouting out information. So that's part of my origin, I guess, is
cool.
Through that, yeah.
Question for both of us. What is one thing that you wish people knew or understood about you?
That's interesting. Oh. See, like that's a hard one because a lot of time I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Like what you see is what you're gonna get with me. If I was on Drunk History, I almost got on Drunk History. That's a story for another time. I'm trying to think of how to answer this best.
Don't really know if there's something you wish people knew about you.
See, my dad talked about my no belly button. I guess.
But you don't have a belly button?
I guess the thing I would want people to know is that I'm a teacher, a substitute teacher, and I deeply love that. So I have besides
You're not the
video
only
games.
substitute teacher on this channel.
Oh really?
Claudia is a substitute teacher.
I did not know that.
And Lauren's a teacher.
That's so cool. I did not know that. Yeah, I love teaching, so I guess. I mean, I was in. Yeah, here's something to know. Today I was in elementary school choir teaching kids, or not teaching, but we went over Jingle Bells, and we went over Frosty the Snowman, and we went over Winter Wonderland. So that's what I was doing today, is practicing these songs with second graders.
Jared Shane, thank you for that
Woo!
follow. Appreciate it.
Jared Shane.
Guys,
He's
every single subscriber, we dance here on this channel, and every 5 subscribers, we give away a Steam key, and we are 4 subscribers away from our next Steam key giveaway. Sorry. A lot of people immediately followed up that question with how did you almost get on Drunk History, but to answer that question, since it was for both of us, I would say the one thing that I want people to understand about myself is nothing is more important to me than integrity. That is nothing more important to me.
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah, I think respect is like a huge thing. That's something I talk about in class too, is like just when you're showing respect to everyone, you're usually going to get respect back, and that makes life a happier place. I think that's cool.
How were you almost on Drunk History? And why haven't you been yet? What did you fuck up there?
So I made I don't know what I did. So it was this video contest. I think it was called Stumble into History or something. Basically, they had a list of people that you had to do a rebuttal for. So there was, let's say, I did J. Edgar Hoover, but J. Edgar Hoover was on this list. Basically, a guy did a story about J. Edgar Hoover, how bad he was. I had to do a rebuttal as J. Edgar Hoover, or whoever on that list. I chose J. Edgar Hoover because I know a lot about the Cold War, so I channeled him and his anti-communist tendencies and his fear over that, which was really fun to do. But I did this video just about, it's happening, just this really freaked out guy. So went up on the site, and people voted on it. Top three vote getters were in the finals. And then in the finals, the producer, Derek Waters, picked one person out of the 3 to get in. So I got the most votes out of every video. So I got in the top 3. I got fan favorite. And then they did not pick me. So I was one step away. Now here's the funny part. Second prize and first prize.
I'm gonna have my people call your people.
Yes, please.
Derek Waters.
Come on. Let's make it happen, Captain.
Really? It's fucked up. Remember that whole integrity thing?
There you go.
That's on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They missed out.
I should. Yeah, I'll send you the link for the video sometime. It's good. It was actually, the other funny part is I was drinking this big bottle of whiskey throughout. But this was actually about 4 weeks into my year of no drinking.
Oh, great. So it was a good decision.
So no, but this was water with soy sauce in it. So I was just drinking water with light soy sauce. You done fucked up drunk history. So yeah, I never got on. I did get a DVD of seasons 1 and 2 of a show that I did not get on though. That's fun.
Yeah.
They're like, here's a show that you didn't get on. Thanks a lot.
Rubbing
John.
that in.
Yeah.
Rubbing that in. Do you have a favorite holiday tradition? And if so, what is it?
There's so
I only
many.
have one, and it's so stereotypical for someone of my age.
What is it?
Just watching Die Hard on Christmas Day.
Oh,
It's like the
yeah.
only one I have. That's it. Like I don't really have any other
I've seen that
tradition.
once, but I don't know it very well. I have a lot. On Cinco de Mayo, I watch the Floyd Mayweather Oscar De La Hoya fight.
Every Cinco de Mayo?
Which happened in 2007. Oh, here's a really good one. This is actually really funny. On my birthday, for 3 years now, on my birthday, I watched the episode of The Price is Right that aired on my birthday, March 3rd, 1989. And here's a fun fact about this episode. Everyone who is in the prize, everyone who gets on the main stage wins. Every single person wins.
Thank you, JSA. That was obviously your doing. Your birth, your immaculate conception definitely created that situation. Have you gotten thank you letters from any of them yet?
Dear Jim, thanks for affecting and impacting this episode. There is one person who is about to lose, but they what happened? Something they screwed it up. Like the people who were supposed to set up the thing screwed up something. So Bob Barker's like, well, we're just gonna have to give you the car now. Someone screwed on up. And everyone's like, woo! And then I go, happy birthday to me. Wow. What an honor to get to watch this. On my birthday 3 years ago, I just typed in March 3rd, 1989, and that came up. I was like, fuck yeah.
And you went, new tradition!
New tradition!
Put this on my fucking calendar. Next year, gotta watch this again.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh man, Trugav wants to know if the funds raised in the last month are, or the lack of funds raised in the last month, the result of holidays and people spending their money on shopping and gifts to the channel. Yeah, and we planned for that, Trugav. We kind of knew. We've seen the trend. We knew that November and December were going to be really hard months for the channel, so we kind of knew that was coming. And that's why the expansion pack is so exciting, and that's to curb that as January kicks off and we get everybody super excited about the channel. JSA from Paximo, how do you maintain your positive energy and attitude? Which I'm guessing is a similar question to the wonder in the world. So I'm getting 3 sweaters, yeah.
I took a year off of drinking, and that really... I had a lot of... I was still a pretty positive person, but I had a lot of up and down roller coasters. So taking a year off really helped, and I'm taking another year off. Starting I think it's gonna be January 20th. It might be January 1st now, though. It was because last
January 17th at 3 p.m. I will be taking a 1-year break.
And watching The Price is Right that aired on January 17th. Now I might do that.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Why do you have to schedule it? Why not just start right now? Like, why are you scheduling it?
I don't know. It's just I like schedules. I like dates.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I think that really at least got rid of the roller coaster type thing. So now I'm able to be a lot more
January 20th because of Inauguration Day? That's when you're gonna stop drinking? Maybe January 21st.
maybe I should, yeah.
Maybe January 21st, all right?
You know, right after that happened, there was a sale at Safeway for $9.99 half gallons of vodka, and I went, yup! It's a sign.
Knew their audience. They were in Washington. Spatha08 asked me if there's any updates on our loop, that the competition's coming up in January. I did not know that, so that I will reach back out to them and ask if there's any way it can be involved. Simtier says, I'm gonna have to miss the Honesty Hour stream tonight because of a family matter, but I don't have a question this week. Just wanted Zach to read out loud that I love you guys. Hashtag Thumper Pride. JSA, who does your favorite impression of yourself and why?
Oh my goodness.
And why is it Sally?
You know what? You know what? Your impression of me is it's one of the best I've seen, honestly.
I feel so honored.
There was a clip, it was on Twitter like maybe 5 months ago of you doing an impression, and I went, holy shit, this is creepy. This is really good. So Mike Coletta, who's one of Aaron Kirby's friends, has a really good one too.
You know what I found before you became a regular on this channel? It seems to be a Seattle rite of passage to have an impersonation of you.
Yeah, there's
every single comedian that came through here had an impression of you.
Yeah, there's yeah.
How does that feel?
It's crazy.
You're an honored member of like it's a rite of passage.
Yeah. It's weird. I'll tell people that go to my show, that like my friends will be like, yeah, everyone at the show will have an impression of me, I guarantee you. It's just, I guess it's fun to do. Here's my impression of JSA. Hi, I'm Jim Stewart Allen. That's me trying to sound like an impression of me. How did I do? How did I do it sounding like myself?
Krun the Barbarian says, JSA, you know you're my favorite person ever. As such, I did spend a day Googling you and found your early high school stand-up. What made you decide on stand-up comedy so young, and was it hard to force yourself to do it?
So, oh my God, Krun saw a performance where I was in my track uniform.
You're allowed to post that in chat, by the way.
Yes, please do. Yeah, I'm not gonna watch it because I'll cringe. Oh, yeah, it's pretty cringe.
Wait, you cringe?
Oh, at seeing my old self do stand-up? Yeah.
But not like stuff now?
You know, depends on how old it is, but it's just like you improve over time, so you don't want to...
So this is an improvement?
Right now, oh yeah, from high school?
Oh glorious. Yeah. I can't wait to see it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, me in high school, I was very yelly, and there's one of my friends...
Wait, I'm still confused.
So this is the best way to describe it. My friend who, his name's Kari Kondabolu, he's on Comedy Central. Some of you might know him. He, a few years ago, watched one of my sets. And this is after not seeing me for about 4 years, since high school. He watched one of my sets 4 years later. This is what he said. He said, Jim, you yell, but you know what you're yelling about now. So that's the best way to describe, I guess, my progression.
Now there's a meaning behind it.
Yep.
But was it hard to force yourself to do stand-up back in the day?
See, the hardest part about back in the day was I didn't have a driver's license, so just like my dad and mom would sometimes just drive me to a show. But it was like the very start of me doing stand-up, so I wanted to do every show I possibly could. It was really exciting to me back then. I mean, I got to be on stage and I was in high school. And I got to talk about what I wanted to talk about. So that was really cool to do. Cool. So it wasn't too hard, like, sticking with that. It was just finding the shows. And, at that age, a lot of them I can't do because 21 and over. So finding those shows was pretty hard.
Somebody keeps asking me if I can talk about Warhammer. We don't have anything to do with Warhammer or even a Warhammer show, so I don't know what you want me to talk about. I've seen someone play it once. That's about all I can say. JSA, when you started with Hyper RPG, did you expect the number of people who enjoy your smiles and personality each time they see you? I know as soon as Honesty Hour started, I immediately started smiling when you started talking.
Oh, that's very nice. Who said that?
Wilder 1251.
Oh, Wilder, nice. Yeah, I think it just really speaks to how great the community is here. Because I've seen some other Twitch channels, and it's crazy what gets through and everything. And I think honestly, a lot of places I would go, people would probably make fun of me or be like, who is this? And you guys just accepted me so quick. You just went, this is who he is. Let's accept it.
So in 2017, we're going to be working with an individual named Keller, who's also a comedian.
Okay.
I want the two of you somehow, some way, to be on a show together. I don't know how it's going to happen because he's in LA. Maybe we have to fly you down there or something.
Okay, I'll fly to LA.
The two of you need to... Yeah, it has to happen for the sake of humanity.
Okay, I'm in.
Testament Doom wants to know, JSA...
The chat kind of agrees.
It's a match made in heaven.
I'm excited now.
It's a match made in heaven. If anything, we'll just get you two playing Rock Band together.
Ooh, I'm pretty good at a few of those songs.
I'm sure you are.
Love me, hate
Great,
me.
moving on. Testament Doom says, JSA, what's the name of your favorite game? I'm not aware of your tastes, and I feel if I knew about your favorite game, I would better understand you.
It's this game called Oregon Trail. It's wonderful. It's such a good game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Well done.
Fantastic game, though. Seriously. It was worth those 10 push-ups. That's how good it is.
So, JSA, why the Bills?
Why the Bills? That's a really good question.
Is it just that shirt was picked up at a store and it's just the way it is? It's a random thing.
I got this from 5 years ago from my old boss, who's an assistant camp director at Camp Seymour, when I worked my first year as a unit director. So I was a cabin leader for a few years and then went to a unit director, and that was a lot of responsibility. And he helped me through that. He helped me calm down and just be effective. But he also is from Buffalo. And so he was wearing this, and I really liked it. At that time, I just really liked things from the 90s, so he gave it to me.
Like literally off his back.
Literally took it off and said,
"Please tell me you have a shirt on underneath."
What?
Did he have a shirt on underneath?
Oh yeah, he did. I thought you were talking to me. I was like, "Yeah, dude."
Okay. Get wants to know, if you can tell the trees, you can tell us. What are your secrets, JSA?
What are my secrets? Not drinking helps.
Mega Man X Movies 1, thank you for that follow. Appreciate it.
Man, everyone, we got a Keller and I have to do this now. Everyone's like, oh my gosh.
You and him are... I'm nervous.
You're nervous at the explosion.
Yeah.
What was the question again? It was tell me your secrets.
You don't have to answer it.
Well, the secret of Cinnamon Toast Crunch is that there's cinnamon swirls in every bite.
Well, there you go.
That's crazy.
JSA, did Almost Live inspire you to go into comedy?
Almost Live. See, you know about Almost Live, right? Okay, so Almost Live was after SNL, and it was a local show, and it was basically Saturday Night Live, but in Seattle. And that's where Bill Nye started getting famous. He would do experiments on that show. I really like Almost Live. It didn't inspire me to do really anything. It was kind of one of those things I watched after Bill Nye went, wow, this is a really cool piece of Seattle pop culture. And so this is like a SNL show, but they do oh, it rains a lot here, and oh, here the Apple Cup is shitty this year, and stuff like that.
Oh, great. That sounds hilarious.
Oh, yeah, it's really fun.
What were your thoughts on the recent Russian signals from space and potential Dyson sphere that we're currently researching? Is ET out there?
My views on that is that we won the space race. We got to the moon first.
Going back in time.
I don't know anything about that. So this is actually funny, but a lot of the times people will start talking about stuff I have no idea about, so it's too current.
You're a very specific set of skills.
I like hiding in history. Just being like, I remember when this happened.
Is there an Xbox club for Hyper RPG? Not that I know of, the master. JSA, what are your opinions to the retelling of history a la Chernow or Lin-Manuel Miranda or Drunk History? Do you think the American fanfic style is useful or not?
I think any retelling of history is useful. There's a lot of sticklers on historical accuracy, and I like to go to this example of what's the game called? Assassin's Creed 3. Is that the American Revolution one?
I don't fucking know, Jason.
One of them is the American Revolution, but a lot of these games and a lot of these narratives might not necessarily be the most historically accurate, but at the very core of it, it's opening up discussions, and it's making people who would never know about these things go, oh yeah, this did happen in history. Maybe I want to find out more about that. So I'm always for that kind of thing, even if it might not be the most historically accurate, because it's getting people interested in the study again. So that's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have to do this really quick. I'm sorry. You're an adult. Get to work. Stop procrastinating. Get off your fucking ass and do something with your life. Okay.
Dang.
Someone wanted some help. So,
there you go. There you go.
You're an adult.
Some motivation.
So, as someone who clearly has a deep love of history, what is your opinion on shows? Oh, I just asked you that question. Actually, that was a different question.
Oh.
No, it's different. It's just worded. Okay.
Huh.
That deal with revisionist history, like current seasons of Legends of Tomorrow or Timeless, going back in time to interfere with the historical events and changing how they turned out.
See, I'm not that interested in that because it just didn't happen. But again, if someone came up to me and was like, I like this, I wouldn't be like, oh, it's not historically accurate, you shouldn't watch that. I'd be like, that's cool that you're watching this. The actual event that happened is really cool too. I wouldn't be like, the actual event. But the main point is that they're talking about this because they saw this, and that's getting them interested in history in some way. So I'm fine with that. But, and I'm such a loser in this way. I don't like fantasy. Anything fantasy except Star Wars. There's a few things that I'll get into, but for the most part, when I watch fantasy, I go,
I don't like fantasy either.
This didn't happen.
Fucking dragons. Dragons? Dragons. Hobbits? Really? Hobbits? Rings? Frodo? Get over it.
Wow, the trees are walking nice.
Yeah. That's some bullshit right there. I don't like it because that didn't happen.
I do like the fire arrows, but the trees walking, not okay. So I just watch the fire arrows and get happy at that. That's like one of the only things I remember from Lord of the Rings.
The fire arrows in the trees?
Yeah, the trees coming over. Because I was really excited about the trees, like, getting to fight back, like, finally. And then they started shooting I'm like, come on! Let the trees have their day.
Oh, damn, their giant weakness. I'm not a big fantasy fan either. I like sci-fi a lot more. I'm a big sci-fi fan.
Yeah,
I'm a big sci-fi
fan.
I like dealing with current kind of social issues and political issues through the reimagining of possible outcomes. And
I just watched,
I like that a lot.
Thanks to Lugeron and Chelsea, I watched Soylent Green for the first time.
That's not what I meant by sci-fi,
That's not
but
what
I
you meant.
understand.
The reimagining of different things. What do you mean by sci-fi then?
Well, I mean, you know, like your 2001's A Space Odyssey, you know, like things that are making you introspective through using your imagination to, you know, foresee where we might be headed or what could happen. Those kinds of learning more about where you currently are through painting in a different light, which allows us to metaphorically, just like a good painting, using a metaphor to get you to understand something clearer than if you were to represent it in a truthful way as it is now.
Right.
By removing yourself from the now and the present, you sometimes get a greater insight into, just like maybe with history, you get insight into the present through what happened in the past, and too often ignore it completely and keep doing what the fuck you're doing anyway.
Yeah.
No, I know Soylent is definitely sci-fi, but not in that way, I guess. As in, you know, 50-year-old movie.
Right.
That being said, 2001 is still a 50-year-old movie, but holds up extremely fucking well. Holds up extremely well.
Is 2001 Space Odyssey, is that the one where that computer's like,
it's a kaiju! It's a kaiju! He wants to...
No look, no touch until he calms down.
Okay.
Is that where the computer's like, George?
Yeah.
Is it George? I can't remember his name, but he's like, why are you doing this to me, George?
Do you watch many movies, Jim?
Here's some more traditions. I watch, my favorite two movies are Good Burger and Titanic.
Get the fuck out of the studio. Just go home. Good Burger and Titanic.
I love those two. Hi. Do you like Good Burger and Titanic?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Kaiju does. Yeah, you like the 2 VHS set, right? Which one's your favorite? Same here, the first VHS. Less stressful, I know.
So, yep, that's definitely a kaiju. Seems stupid or pointless or something like that when watching 2001. You know, to each his own. I'm not even gonna dive into that. Like, I really don't want to dive into Good Burger. I'm gonna walk away from that one. Let me see.
There's a lot to say about it.
Welcome to Good Burger. Can I take your order?
That one, yup.
Oh, okay.
JSA, what's your favorite PGTB fact?
PGTB. I like the fact that he was on the Confederate side, and then when the Confederate side lost, he went, yeah, I'm just gonna be I'm just gonna support that, like the side that won, and now I'm just gonna be on that side. He built a railroad after, and he was I can't remember what he did, but he ran for some elected official in the Republican Party, which is pretty crazy that he went from being a Confederate general to that, and he just kind of accepted that his side lost and went the right side won, so I'm gonna be part of the right side. That's kind of cool.
Play in the field. Is that your real hair? They want me to check. I'm not gonna check.
This is indeed my real hair. It's beautiful.
JSA, do you listen to Hamilton, and why is it the best thing ever?
I have not heard Hamilton yet.
I knew you were gonna say that. Guys, he just said his favorite movie was Good Burger and the Titanic. You honestly fucking think he's watched or listened to Hamilton?
I'll watch that soon, but I mean, again, you know what I'm going to say about it. It's wonderful because it's getting people engaged in history. It's too current for me to watch it. I need some more, I need space. That's what I taught. I used to be a toddler teacher. And one of the important things is like, make sure if someone is in your personal space to tell them I need space. But that's always how I feel with like modern things. And I'm like, I need space.
Like modern video games, movies, cell phones, computers, things like that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, how dare you, modern technology, crowd me and overwhelm me.
I just can't. JSA is dead to me. Oh, man. I do have a color TV. That is, I do have that.
You have a color TV?
I have a color TV.
Oh, shit. CRT? Tube or LCD? Like...
I think it's a flat screen.
It's a flat screen. Is it still tube, though? Is it like...
No, I don't think so. Because my roommate's got it, so it's probably new. It's probably newer.
So it's not yours.
It's not mine. It's
so when
like
you said you have a color TV, you meant you've seen one in real life.
I've seen a colored TV
out in the wild.
Chelsea's trying to help me out with the 70s. That's right.
Maddie Pick says, thoughts on Battlestar Galactica, Zach? Beats Bears. I like Battlestar. JSA, favorite publisher of history books, if you have one. That's interesting.
Favorite publisher? You know, the good old university presses are just great. Anything from a university press is just something that they've read through and gone, this is legit research. So you can usually trust those guys. So let's see. Ole Miss University Press. That's who published. I believe that's who published my dad's first book. So I'm gonna go with them.
Picking favorites, I see. The nepotism. JSA, what are your thoughts on Roadhouse?
Roadhouse. I loved reading the script. I'm excited to watch the movie.
You've never seen the movie?
I've never seen the movie. I was gonna watch it before I read the script.
Do you have a VHS tape player?
I have, yes.
I knew you would say yes.
Yes.
If you want to borrow the tape, I have the tape.
Okay. I should watch it. I was gonna watch it before I did the reading, but I was like, if I watch it, then I'll never have done the reading without watching it. So I'm just not gonna watch it and just read it cold turkey and see what happens.
I like this question. Who's the biggest ass in all of known history?
Who's the biggest ass in all of history? That's a good
question. Good night, Troga.
That's a good question. The biggest asshole in all of history. Banastre Tarleton's pretty gnarly.
Banastre Tarleton?
Banastre Tarleton.
He sounds like a piece of fucking work. Fuck that guy. Banastre Tarleton?
Yeah, that was his name.
Wow, wonder why he ended up being an asshole.
So he was a British cavalry officer.
Okay.
And so his most famous thing is, it was called the Waxhaws Massacre. And basically these Americans, this is how the story goes, is these Americans are surrendering, they have the white flag, and he just came by and chopped their heads off with a saber. So this guy...
All of them in one swing?
He just, the picture in the story is just him chopping a helpless, someone holding the white flag. So that's kind of the narrative of him. That's what he gets placed under. Now, the interesting thing about Banastre Tarleton is he's such a douchebag that in The Patriot, they don't have to do that much work to find an evil... The evil guy in The Patriot, the bad guy, is completely...
Is that the Mel Gibson movie?
Yeah. He's completely based off of...
the first 20 minutes of that movie were pretty damn awesome.
What is that where he dual wields muskets?
Hanging out, hiding out and stuff.
Yeah, and he makes the bullets out of his son's army figurines. Chills. Yeah. Crazy. That's another... History has taught me to fear humans. Yeah, humans are pretty scary.
Pretty fucked up. Done some pretty fucked up things.
I didn't say Hitler. Yeah, Banastre Tarleton's pretty awful. He killed tens of
There was
hundreds.
that guy that one time that held up the flag and he killed him. It was pretty shitty. Worst asshole in absolute history, though.
Ooh, Diary of a I gotta check that out. Diary of a Napoleonic Foot Soldier. There you go.
Now, do you know much about history outside the United States, or you'd say you're primarily a United States historian, Civil War era?
So my thesis, my 36-page thesis, my final paper for college, was actually on the First Crusade.
Okay.
So I did get into medieval history a lot because it's so crazy. It's everything humanity should do to make itself better. They did the opposite in the Middle Ages. It's
Give me
just
some
a
examples.
shit
Give me some
show.
examples.
They just what's a good? I mean, just the fact that the poor people in the Middle Ages just stayed on the very bottom. There was just no way to get up in this society. It's brutal. I mean, I did a paper on medieval peasants who could not. They were illiterate, so you have to read these accounts of they're called manor court records, and they're basically these small claims court records for medieval peasants. So literally, like, so and so stole a goose from so and so. They owe 4 shillings and 3 pence. Just pages upon pages of that. That's one of the only ways you can study them, because they're illiterate, so you have to look at what rich people wrote about them in these small claims court type things. So, but just the fact that it's so hard to even study, like, white people. Like, how hard is it to study white people in history? Really hard in the Middle Ages if they're not in a certain social class. So the Middle Ages is just brutal, and I think that's interesting. And so many times people say winners write history, right? Which is true. Winners write history, and so I think it's cool to... I think with history, it's cool to, if you find the right sources, you can bring out people that are not talked about as much in history. So the Middle Ages gives us some more opportunities to do that, I think. I can't even remember what the question is, but I think that's an interesting time period to study, just the sources that were available. Mm-hmm. Because now we have Twitter and Facebook and stuff. I mean, if you want to know...
So in the future, they'll be like, oh, everyone was a piece of shit.
Pretty much,
I mean,
yeah.
in some ways, history now is kind of nice because we don't have the records of every fucking idiot on the planet.
Exactly.
Now, every idiot's got a voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it doesn't just disappear.
So, yeah. So,
even current President-elect's tweets from 6 years ago are public record.
Yeah.
Public record.
Oh, yeah, with hashtags and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, during the Crusades, the First Crusade, there was a speech by Pope Urban II. This is not a word-for-word speech. It's just, 11 people wrote about this speech, basically what he says, and you piece it together, and you figure out what the speech is from there. Whereas now, you just go on a YouTube... There's a video, and then there's millions of 140 character blurbs about how everyone thought about it. So there you go. Yep. It's
without
completely...
any research to back up their claim.
Yeah, exactly, right? But if you're gonna do a paper about how the normal person, the normal U.S. citizen interacts with these types of events, perfect way to go. But in the Middle Ages, you have 11 sources for this hugely important speech, and now you have millions. And it speaks to the fact that history in different eras is a totally different animal. There's certain skills that you need to be a medieval historian, whereas you need a completely different set of skills if you're a Cold War historian.
Somebody, Bluebird says, history is largely reading old Facebook posts to see what the facts were. It's crazy and awesome.
There you go. You gotta sift through.
Which is scary. When you see how easy it is for misinformation to exist in this generation.
Yeah.
And it's so prevalent and so in front of us that we're more aware of the misinformation. When it comes to history, you have no guarantee that everything you're reading is complete and total misinformation. Mm-hmm. Unless you have geological record to go along with it. That's why I find science and history mixing interesting, is when you have geological record to kind of back up the claims that are being made that have to do with certain people, places moving from one place to another and things like that, or floods and winters that happen that hurt the economy. But outside of that, it's all fucking hearsay.
It's
Who
crazy.
The fuck knows?
Yeah, it's
Who knows if what you're reading is true.
And people ask me, how do you know this all isn't just made up? How do you know that the Boston Tea Party actually happened? People aren't just making it up. You have to look at the sources. You have to look, and there's hundreds of sources, right, or thousands of newspapers reporting, and you just have to go, well, 1,000 people couldn't have made up this thing. But then what you gotta do is go, well,
I don't know, have you been on Facebook? How many people share false information?
Well, see, and that goes back to the Boston Tea Party just happened in a different time.
Where you actually thought there was journalistic integrity.
Where this
How
many...
do you know?
Who knows?
How do you fucking know?
I mean, you could say that...
I'm only saying this to be devil's advocate, because how are people in the future going to look at our history? If there is no journalistic integrity, if there is no, actual checks and balances for these things, what do you believe?
And you have to go... You have to go to the actual videos and the actual speeches, but now what you're seeing is there are these programs.
Even that's construed. You can take a piece of dialogue, take it out of a general speech, and make up whatever you want to surround the front and the back end of that to validate a claim that you want. You can do that with just about anything.
And that's what a trained historian is there to do, is to look at the sources and go, and all the, in a good scholarly book, it's all cited. So a good historian can look at these claims and go, are these true? Let's see the evidence. Is this evidence good enough for me? It's social science. It's using evidence to prove your thesis. And so history and a good historian will be trained. And that's why, I'll write papers about medieval history, and my dad will correct them and my mom will correct them. They're not trained in medieval history, but they're trained in history in general. They're trained to go, this is the evidence that he's putting forth. Is this good enough to support his claim? That's what historians can do no matter the era. They can always look at the evidence, see if it exists because it's supposed to be cited, and then hopefully validate that evidence and make it, hopefully the narrative is somewhat correct in that evidence.
A lot of assumptions have to be made, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other beauty of history, is everyone is their own person. So everyone's going to have a different view of the thing, which is why I really, it's important that where you grew up and where you're from, find history that's important to you, because you're going to be the best at telling that story. There's a story for everyone to tell out there, and you got to find the one you're best at and then make that story cool. I think that's the cool thing about history.
And your story is Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. The game that cannot be named.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
That's your story.
That's one of them.
That's the one when it gets down to it's like, we need to remember this game and what it did to us and history and how it affected us. You'd be like, that's me. I got it.
Yeah.
I'm the expert.
And there's two, and that's another interesting thing about history. There's two different things that play now. You got not only the actual trail that they're talking about, but then you also get a study of educational computer games in the 80s. Why was there this huge outburst of Mech made hundreds of floppy disk games. A bunch of companies did. I mean, Emily's dad was part of this, right? He made a math game, math learning game.
Can I say something? I was sitting at home and I wish I could jump out of the chat room and just say that your positivity is just an inspiration.
Aw, thank you, Malika.
And I'm
I
sorry
appreciate
that
it.
my dog just is in love with you.
Thank you, Kaiju. I appreciate
Yeah, I
it.
love you too.
Woohoo.
You crazy dog. Yeah,
Aw.
that's all. You even make Zach smile. Nobody makes Zach smile.
Yay. Yay, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here.
And there's only emotes in the chat room.
I'm glad we have emote-only mode during Honesty Hour. It's a good time. We can take your questions now in the form of emotes. So they're going to try to form us some questions through emotes. Let's see if we can decode them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What do you think those are?
They're asking me, are we trying to form questions? Let's see. Why do you love being a lone wolf sometimes?
That's obviously what that means.
I perform a lot. I mean, I'm on Twitch, and then I teach, and so I'm in front of people a lot. So I do like just being by myself. I really like playing Splinter Cell alone, like the Pandora Tomorrow. Oh, it's so scary. I love just being alone and like hearing the guards go, "Who's there?" and going. That's great. That's how I interpreted that question. I hope that's what you meant by it.
What about these? What about these questions?
Oh, let's see. Is that someone eating arrows? Oh, no, that's someone singing. Oh, and then that drop of water looks like something like kind of like Angela Anaconda. Do you remember that show? It was this weird, like, kind of collage cartoon from the 90s. So, I think it's saying, why do you like the Angela Anaconda theme song? And I think it's not only the collage-y art that they did in the 90s for that show, but then Angela Anaconda just has this, like, really gruff voice that's, like, not... Usually you don't hear it in a cartoon, so I like to hear her sing it. Now you have to hear the Angela Anaconda theme song.
Yep, I have to. That's on my list of things to do, JSA, definitely. List of things to do. You know, getting back to like this kind of new adventure that you're on, which is Twitch and stuff like that, what's been the coolest thing for you on your own channel?
That's a great question.
Like, what has it been like? Because, you know, and I mean no offense to you whenever when I say this, you're definitely a newbie to the platform.
Yeah,
but totally. You've been doing it for over 160 days straight. Without compromising to the platform, which in itself is unique. And what I mean by that is you're doing it your way, and your way only, the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
And no other way.
Yeah.
So what's that been like, and what's been the coolest thing you've learned, and how do you see all that working? KFR 8-bit, thank you for that follow.
I think just the pure fact that on a given day I can get from anywhere between about 12 to 22 on average people that will come in and go, yes, I will watch Jim play this game. I will watch him play, and I can't say the name. But I think that in itself is so cool to me, and it proves the fact that this game anyone can watch if you set up the right community.
You're not interested in getting a shit ton of numbers or conforming to an idea of what it means to be a performer on the platform. You just want to do your thing.
I would obviously like more, I would like my numbers to go up slowly, but I'm more sold on the community that I have. I love the people that come into the chat, and I kind of have realized that the numbers I get aren't so much going to be from other Twitch channels coming over to me. Maybe for a community like this, that's definitely helpful, but a lot of the people I get are people that are just my friends or people that have watched me do stand-up that aren't necessarily don't watch Twitch, but will go, yeah, I'll watch someone play organ. I had today, two of my naturalist friends actually came on and watched me play. But it's been cool because other than that game, I do play some other education. I'm not even counting right now. I do play other educational. I'm good?
Yep.
All right, cool. I play other educational computer games, but I think the point of what I do is just that learning can be interactive for kids and adults, and I think the other precedent I like to put out there is that these game companies like Steam and GOG, it's great having these, but there's still a lot of work to be done. There's a lot. I think that we need to be hiring and looking for programmers, coders that can go in and simply just take old games and make it so you can play them on new computers again.
A lot of people on the internet do that for free on websites.
But it's really hard. It's really hard to get those games to.
I think a lot of that has to do with demand.
Yeah. Yeah.
and that there is none.
And that's why my channel's there, right? To go, look, these games are important.
Look, there's 22 people in the world that need to hire an entire group of programmers to code these games that are no longer on the market. I'm the proof. These 22 people are the proof.
Yes! And that's what I do every day. That's one of the goals. Of course, the other thing is just to be able to hang out with my community and do that. And it's so cool. And I get people from Hyper RPG, and it's just so helpful. Because I was gonna start this channel anyway, but it's been so helpful being in this community because there's so much to learn about just being on Twitch and how it works. And so to have people from this community come onto my channel and help me out with that, and then to come here and just be part of Twitch and to meet people who are in this community, it's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, GOG was primarily originally about emulation layer that made older games work.
There you go. Yeah, and they
but
have,
not good enough apparently.
They
Get
have
your
a
shit together.
They have. See, this is my thing. Is the second version of the game I like, you can only play on CD-ROM, and so this is funny. If you watch the stream, there's some parts where you get to a certain place and it'll just go. There'll be this terrible sound because the CD-ROM is going, I don't know what to do. Help. Or it'll just freeze altogether and I'll have to restart. So there's like so much you have to do to work with these old games. And so
Chelsea Pia, Kaiju is a 1 year old male Shiba Inu. Continue. I was just interrupting you for
no
prosperity.
worries. No worries. Chelsea's one of my mods. Yeah, so I think that's important. I think the study of history in the future, and this gets back to primary sources, whereas in the past you only have like speeches and kind of writing, history now is going to partly be studied through video games.
And also, I mean, that's an interesting aspect about digital content. And even when it came down to technology in the 20th century, where, you know, say if a piece of history lies on a beta tape. Well, that's going to suck figuring it out. The same goes for like digital games that came out. You know, if they're the holder of that information, how are you going to figure that out? You know, and that'll be interesting in years to come, because when it was just pen and paper and physical items and goods, it's much easier to study. But yeah, as digital stuff continues evolving and it becomes obsolete, there's no way to then access that information again.
Yeah.
It's just ones and zeros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I use this example a lot. But for instance, if you're a historian in 2070 and you're trying to put together some sources that say this is how people lived in the very early 2000s, there's a lot of sources you can watch. TV shows from there. One of the best things you could probably do is play The Sims 1. Just play it for 10 hours or something. Play The Sims 1. You'll know everything about how this is what a computer looked like. Here's a stove. I mean, in 2070, all of this is going to change. It's going to be crazy to go back and be like, this is how people live. Imagine you have a game like The Sims. Imagine technology was at a point where they could put out a game like The Sims in the 1700s, made for, like, you know, middle schoolers to play in the 1700s about life, just day-to-day life in the 1700s. And we got to play that today. How much more would we understand? It's crazy.
I don't really have anything to add to that.
I just think it's so cool.
What are you playing tomorrow on your show with Sally?
It's an ad on
Last Guardian, right?
Yeah, Last Guardian.
It's a puzzle game.
It's a puzzle game.
Hard puzzles.
Hard.
Video game puzzles.
Ooh.
You're gonna be terrible at it.
Uh-oh. I'm pretty good at Tetris, kind of.
Yeah.
So I've played a few adventure puzzle games where you kind of like have to turn levers and stuff in dungeons.
It's a little like that.
I'm trying to think. See, I have actually played some current PS4 games. Is it Uncharted? Is Uncharted the one where you're like a guy and you're like crawling on walls and stuff?
Sure, yeah.
I played
One of
that.
many. One of many.
I played Uncharted 3, I think. And so I
You
do
just
know,
wanted to be Indiana Jones, didn't you?
I just love on the new games how like all of the things are so fluid. Like it just all makes you look like an action hero.
What do you think about Indiana Jones? The Indiana Jones movies?
I've seen the first one years and years and years ago. Oh, and then I saw the new one like 5 years ago where he hid in the refrigerator to get away from the atomic bomb test, and that part wasn't accurate. Those are my opinions. And also, the red line. Zach is disgusted with me.
Yeah. Everything else aside,
there
that
is
part
no-
wasn't accurate.
Alien Knitter went, there is no new one. Stop talking, Jim. The new one from like 2009. That's really new to me.
Oh, man.
The crystal one, the golden skull, the crystal skull. Here's another fun fact.
Yeah.
Rocky, I've only seen one Rocky, and it was Rocky Balboa. It was like that weird one from like 2008.
The one where he has a robot servant?
Does he have a robot servant?
No, that one was later. That one was before, wasn't it? That was like Rocky 3 or 4. Yeah. Oh my god.
There was no fourth Indiana Jones?
They're making a joke that movie didn't exist because it was so bad. We don't want to act as if it was a real Indiana Jones movie.
I was like, what am I?
But as you know, the only real problem with that movie was that the scene with the refrigerator wasn't accurate.
Yeah, there is the atomic bomb drops and then it goes away and then he comes out of the refrigerator. It's like, dude, you already ruined the movie, dog. I can't watch the rest of the movie because I can't watch someone who's supposed to be dead then just be alive.
Because we all know refrigerators survive atomic bombs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Maybe. I don't...
No, I mean, it doesn't matter that there's aliens and magic skulls and stuff like that. It's the atomic bomb in the refrigerator.
That really bugged me.
Yeah.
That really bugged me.
That does it. Not Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf's mustache ruined that movie. I saw Transformers. He was in that.
Why?
Remember that snake going through the sand? Whoa, CGI. Ah!
Man. You know, sometimes you meet people and you're like, how's that brain work? And you're like, I'm good. I'm good. Tomorrow on the channel, Mr. JSA here will be playing The Last Guardian with Sally. And Andy from Pixelmaniacs. He's not on anything. This is just JSA. He's a genuine guy.
Yup.
He's a good dude. He's a national treasure. And I want to thank you for coming out and joining us on Honesty Hour.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Getting to know you a little bit better so you guys can get to know this guy. You have your own channel. What's your Twitch channel?
It's twitch.tv/Jim Stewart Allen. You can watch me play this game where you go across the continent on a covered wagon for 2,000 miles.
It's the only
game.
Every day.
Every day.
Every
146 days in a row right now.
What are you gonna do if you miss a day?
I'm gonna be so sad.
Really?
Yeah. I want to get at least 6.
How do you live in a world where you can't miss a day?
I always make sure to get there at some point. There have been times where I've had a show in Olympia and I've gotten done at like 11:10, and then I'll get back at 11:40, and like have to run in and like get everything set up. But I can beat the game in about 7 minutes, which is also nice. There was one day where money.
Oh, JSA. You're a little nutty, but you're good people and all our lives are better for knowing you. Hashtag Neonet, hashtag TrailBrowns.
Fuck, you making gang signs on my chat? What are you doing?
It's a heart.
The heart?
It's a heart.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Genova Plus. I appreciate that. What was I even talking? Oh, something about the game that I can't mention.
Yeah. Well, again, I want to thank you, Jim, for coming out. We're gonna be ending this with a raid on someone else's channel. One of the things we like to spread the love here, JSA. So when we go offline, we like to show our chat room someone else that we think is an amazing streamer and doing really cool stuff. And if you were online, we'd be like, yo, let's throw one to JSA.
Cool.
But you're here.
I am here right now.
So we're gonna give it to somebody else.
That I can forgive you for not rating me. That's okay. If you did, you would see a blank screen that said not live. So it probably wouldn't hold viewers' attention much.
Right. Probably not. Oh, you know what? We're gonna throw Margaret Crone a raid because she's good people. She's good people. Margaret Crone. And I just announced my resub in her chat, so she's totally gonna be aware that it's coming.
Okay.
I just blew it, guys. I totally blew it. All right, get those raid cannons ready, guys. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in and asking us questions and getting to know JSA a little bit better. We'll be back here tomorrow with all sorts of crazy. Tomorrow we've got these guys starting off the day.
1 p.m. Come check me out then. We'll be playing. What's the game called again?
The Last Guardian.
The Last Guardian.
Do your goddamn job.
I need to do my job.
And then after that, we've got LAN Party with Domestic Dan and the gang. And then after that, we've got Weekly Affirmations, our indie freeform RPG show. And then a special program tomorrow night after Weekly Affirmations. I'm going to be playing Gigantic with the developers of Gigantic. And we're going to be giving out codes to the community in the morning in Discord. So be ready for those so you guys can get the game installed and ready to play with this. I'm going to be playing tomorrow night in the beta with the developers and you guys in the chat because you're an awesome community. So make sure you check Discord tomorrow and get those codes. So get that raid command ready, and we're gonna throw a raid to Miss Margaret Crone. Go over there, make some friends, be nice. She's a hell of a streamer, really cool individual that's really doing some really neat stuff in the game development community. So
cool.
One last drop to empty that cup. I guess we can wait to see.
One last drop to empty that cup.
Ooh.
Missed.
Oh.
Rim! Hit the rim! Shit. Oh well. What can you do? Alright, guys. Raid command. You ready? You guys know the raid. If you're a new viewer or you hardly ever watch, go over there with them. Make some friends. Represent the community.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing to do. Redo. You're now making us wait. I gotta fucking wait again. Miss!
Oh!
Ha! Ha! Missed. That's actually pretty riveting, right?
What? So wait, sometimes they miss, but if it
Yeah.
hits, it'll empty the cup.
Yeah, Nerdstar TV, thank you for that follow. Yeah, sometimes it
Thank you.
you know, sometimes it misses and shit. Big whiff. All right, you guys, you ready? You ready? We're gonna do a raid.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1, go! Go raid, go home, get out of here, go watch your stream, make friends, have fun. Get in there, go to their chat, Margaret Crone's chat, go over there, I'm gonna host it, and then you're gonna go over there and you're gonna make friends and you're gonna have fun. She's playing Dishonored 2 and it's pretty cool. Get out, get the fuck out of here.
Go! Oh, there goes the cup. Beautiful.
That's okay. Cool.
Yay! Awesome.
Cool, I'm gonna go shut this down. 1 sec.
Zach, thanks so much. That was so much fun.
Be right back, I'm gonna shut it down.